Hello, I am your teacher, Mr. Pacitti, and this is my classroom right here in Orlando, Florida. So put away your mobile phones, put away your sonotube medallions. It's time to concentrate. It's time to study. This is SmackDown Live, and this is Graded. Kicking things off with the Viper Randy Orton, the bastard. Of course, last week he committed the vicious act of cleaning Jeff Hardy's face with a wet sponge, and he's here to address his actions. Randy says that he's going to destroy every superstar. He's going to dismantle their identities. He's going to become so violent that you're going to want to change the channel. Calm down, Randy. This isn't Raw. He says that you all still believe in superstars and you think that Jeff Hardy's just going to run down here and save the day, but he isn't, because he's been erased and he's going to continue erasing superstars. Erase, erase, erase. Jokes aside, this was a great promo from an impassioned Randy Orton who is so clearly committed to this role. He spoke with sincerity, he spoke with conviction, you believed every single word he was saying, and as such, this gets a B+ from me. I don't like it. So often we see these promos opening up Raw or SmackDown, but when they're this engaging, no complaints from me. Backstage now with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, and Becky is of course upset that last week Charlotte qualified for the SmackDown Live Women's title match at SummerSlam, making that match a triple threat. Becky now says that she has a bigger, blonder, bolder mountain to climb. Bolder, as in bold, not... What am I on about? Charlotte asks if they are good for this match, and Becky says, of course, they're not Sasha and Bayley, T. I don't really know what that means. That's a millennial thing. Anyway, it's time for the match. Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair versus the IKonics. The IKonics get a bit of promo time on the way to the ring, being their usual cringeworthy selves, and this is actually something that I've been quite hard on in the past, but it is something that's growing on me. The audience disagreed. They were chanting, boring, boring. I'm not sure I agree. They finished their promo by saying that Becky Lynch is always the bridesmaid, never the champion. Mic drop. Ooh. Both of these promos painted Becky as the underdog heading into SummerSlam, and to me there are two realistic endings for that match. Number one, Becky wins the title as the babyface underdog. Number two, which I think might happen, Charlotte turns on Becky, turning heel in the process, regaining the women's title, and to me that's the more tempting outcome from this. Like, Charlotte is a far better heel. She has far more personality when she's playing heel. So that's something that I'd really like to see. I do think that we're eventually going to get Becky as the women's champion. Commentary have been painting her as an underdog, painting her as a viable threat for many, many weeks now. And I don't mind either of those outcomes, but I think I would prefer to see Charlotte win the title and then have Becky chase it from her, rather than Becky winning it in a triple threat match. Anyway, I think we are going to see the end of Carmella's reign at SummerSlam. That's my prediction right now. You know what? I just realised there's one other option, and that is to turn Becky heel at SummerSlam. And a month and a half ago, I would have been all for that, for sure, because Becky was stagnating on SmackDown. She wasn't doing really anything, but she's played a brilliant babyface in the past 6 weeks or so, and it's an easy fix, isn't it? Turn someone heel, give them a push. I don't think she needs that anymore. I want to see Becky win the title. I just don't know whether I want to see it at SummerSlam. The match gets a B from me. I'm not too bothered about the IKonics picking up another loss. The focal point should be on Becky, should be on Charlotte heading into SummerSlam, but it does make me crave a women's tag division, because I think that the IKonics should be doing something a little bit more meaningful, especially after debuting on the main roster so recently. That's a little bit frustrating, but never mind. Oh, Carmella was on commentary as well, and she was average. Backstage with the New Day, who of course tried their hand at commentary last week and were fantastic. This week they're trying their hand at backstage interviewing, with Kofi Kingston playing the role of Kramer Kingdom, and it was brilliant. They're just so charismatic, they're so great. Go and watch it. To the ring, and out comes WWE Champion AJ Styles to a huge ovation, and he says that last week Samoa Joe made it personal. He says that his wife, Mrs. Styles, is effectively a single parent because AJ can't be at home enough. He's so committed to the WWE. He misses Little League games and all of that sort of stuff. I don't know why I keep doing that with my arms. I'm very, very animated today. Sorry about that. I've had a couple of coffees. He says that Samoa Joe and him rose through the ranks together, that Samoa Joe knows his family. And after his actions last week, not only will Samoa Joe not walk out of SummerSlam as WWE Champion, but he won't be able to walk out at all. His legs won't work because he's hurt him loads. Good promo here from the champ, which gets a B+ from me. I love that they're making this feud so personal. This could very easily be match of the night at SummerSlam. And I was already invested from an in-ring perspective. Like, I know it's going to be really great, but now I'm invested in a storyline perspective as well. So that's a great thing. I can't wait for this match. Backstage with Rusev and Lana, enter Aiden English, who apologizes for costing Lana her match last week on SmackDown, but he is forgiven. Big pop from the crowd. They absolutely loved that, but he better stay backstage tonight. To the ring for Lana versus Zelina Vega in a rematch from last week's SmackDown, and this was pretty average from an in-ring standpoint, but there were some interesting storyline developments. So Rusev and Almas start battling on the outside. Outruns Aiden English, who ends up spearing Almas into Lana, costing her the match. Zelina Vega is the winner. This match gets a C+ from me. Roll on! Rusev versus English on the SummerSlam pre-show. They told you to stay backstage, you bellend. Quick backstage promo with the US champion Shinsuke Nakamura, who of course will defend that belt against Jeff Hardy at SummerSlam. Enter RTruth, of all people, with his little sidekick, Ty Dillinger. Truth says that he wants that title. How's he going to get that match? The same way everybody else does, by pinning Carmella. Really funny line. It sets up Shinsuke Nakamura versus RTruth later in the night. We then get a satellite interview with The Miz. Byron Saxton is in the ring. The Miz is on the set of Miz and Mrs. and he says that the reason that he's not at SmackDown is because he's too big a star. He's too important. Did you see, following the Miz and Mrs. last week, Twitter exploded with memes and GIFs. GIFs. This gets an F from me because it's GIF. It's absolutely GIF. Ridiculous. Seriously though, after you get all of the Miz and Mrs. plugs out of the way, this was a pretty good promo with the Miz continuing to run down Daniel Bryan, who can't take no more, and runs in. He attacks the Miz, but is sort of held back by security, and then he eats a vase to the back and lays him out. Intense stuff, and it still does bother me a little bit that this very personal, very intense feud has been used to push a reality TV show so hard, but I guess with the Miz's character, it does work in context. This gets a B from me. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Daniel Bryan standing up, looking all angry afterwards, and looking to... I don't know how he found the set of the Miz and Mrs. Like, that's a... I mean, they were backstage, weren't they? But... B. Next up, Shinsuke Nakamura versus RTruth, and this match is exactly what you would expect it to be, with RTruth getting in a little bit of offense in the early stages, but ultimately gets his face kicked to the F off by Shinsuke Nakamura. This match gets a B from me. Fair play to RTruth, by the way. I checked his Wikipedia page, and would you believe that RTruth is 92 years old? He's been wrestling for 55 years, of course, making his debut as K-Quick all the way back in 1967, and he can still do the splits. Good lad. Next up, the Bludgeon Brothers versus 3SK. 3SK, which stands for 3 serial killers, which I did find a little bit distasteful. Obviously, Rowan and Harper quickly demolish Bundy, Dharma, and Geen. I never quite know what to give squash matches. This one gets a B- from me. Obviously, squash matches do serve their purpose. This was very, very short. And it makes sense, doesn't it? The Bludgeon Brothers continuing to look strong in the build-up to SummerSlam, where they'll defend their titles against the winners of tonight's main event. Speaking of which, what a match. I'm going to get the grade out of the way early so I can talk about the match. The New Day versus The Bar gets an A from me. It was tremendous. It was a pay-per-view quality match on a free weekly TV show. And it served to show just how fantastic the New Day and The Bar's chemistry is together. So good. And also, it demonstrated just how different Raw's tag team division and SmackDown's tag team division is. By which I mean that Raw's tag division sucks and SmackDown's doesn't. This may seem like a weird thing to say, but my favourite thing about this match is that it felt like both teams wanted to win, like really wanted to win. They were pulling out all the stops so that they could get a tag team title match at SummerSlam. It just made the belts feel so important, which they should do. Loved Big E missing the splash on the apron, loved the superplex knee drop combination, loved Kofi's dive to the outside, loved the sharpshooter, loved the near falls, loved the crowd, loved my mum, loved wrestling. Love you. This was a really good match. After a solid 20 minutes, the New Day pick up the win with the Midnight Hour, and yeah, me too. I would have really liked to see the Bar win this one. I think we've seen the New Day versus the Bludgeons in various different situations quite a lot in the past. I think the Bar versus the Bludgeon Brothers would have been a bit more fresh, but I don't mind. It's going to be a really good match. I really do hope this time around the Bludgeons do drop the titles. But yeah, what a great ending to a great SmackDown. This SmackDown gets a B+ from me. Just a great night. A great night of wrestling. Everything continues to make sense. I just don't understand why only SmackDown or only Raw can be good. Never at the same time. It's like some unwritten rule. Let's finish with a joke. Why is Seth Rollins not allowed near gas stations? Because he always carries matches. See ya. So that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.